Got it. Thank you, Matt. You got it?
Okay, all right, all right.
Because I just know how
Yeah,
it would go.
yeah, yeah.
Everybody else,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
so you know.
okay. Good luck. Oh, my mics are on.
I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, folks, it's 6 o'clock. We're gonna start the meeting here. If everybody will please rise, we're gonna have the Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and like to do the presentation, the flags, and invocation, and a little report. So please remain standing. Y'all ready?
The Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Y'all can have a seat.
Just getting ready.
Somebody signed it.
Hello, my name is Lucas Abel, and I will be doing the troop update for Troop 118. All right, so first of all, I'd like to commemorate Life Scout Elliot Lehman for completing his Eagle Scout project at Stillhouse Lake. He put up little signs and with holders so that the Stillhouse Lake community could put life jackets that can be used for borrowing.
Great idea.
I would also like to talk about two scouts who are starting their own Eagle projects, Lucas and Evan. We are building sheds for the Belton Senior Center, and we are building sheds for the Belton Senior Center for their storage. Not much has happened inside of the troop. But I would like to thank the. But I'd like to notice the upcoming Eagle Scouts we have before us. Lastly, in order to support Lucas and Evan Abel's project, we are having a virtual bake sale. Any online donation of $5 or more will be entered to win a custom-baked pie from the Pie Lady in Belton. Other prizes include a customizable cookie lake by Cake by the Lake, a party platter from HEB, a dozen donuts from Top Donuts, and more. We have a benefactor who has allowed us to use his commercial account to pre-buy the materials, but they will have to be paid before the project can be considered complete. Every donation will be matched by the Belton Senior Activity Center, and I will leave this paper, which has more details on that counter right there, so that you may look at it and view at it to maybe help support the Eagle Scouts. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate our scouts. At this time, this is the opportunity for the members of the public to make suggestions or have discussion or topics on things that are either on the agenda or not. We ask that you limit your presentation to 3 minutes. All speakers will conduct themselves in an orderly and lawful manner. We will recognize you if you'll please state your name and address. We would appreciate it when you address. Keep in mind, if the item is not on the agenda, that we being the council cannot address anything that you may have a concern about if it's not on the agenda. So that's in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Law. Okay, at this time, we're going to start. And Wendy, you're the first one on here.
I've not lived out here very long, but I've lived out here long enough to know that what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. Now, there are some people that tell me, employees, I don't know what that means. I said, please, you're at least 45 years old. I know that. So, it means what's good for your neighbor should be good enough for you, but it's not. Second off, if we're not going to enforce the city ordinances, why are they on the books? Why do we have $1,000 leash law, but they don't enforce it? Tickets don't get written. I had to pitch a hissy fit, and I still know that the person didn't get a ticket. So, makes you wonder. I also was told that on the city ordinance was a wildlife refuge from your property line out 10 feet, you have to clean up. I'm sorry, my husband and I are the only ones that do this. So something's not right here. It's a problem for me, even though I still cleaned up all the broken trees, and my husband threw them, and we took it, and I got a brush dumpster and all that done. I did it all. But it's like someone told me out here, I don't care. I said, well, I say I don't care all the time, but it's not I don't care out of disrespect. It's I don't care. I have my problems of my own. I don't care about hearing gossip. I don't care about any of that. So what I do care about is I came here tonight, left my husband with our dogs after he worked 12 hours today, or maybe 12 and a half. But it is a problem when people tell me that I need to follow something because they don't know me well enough to tell me something, because I'm going to tell them straight up, you are not my mama, you are not my daddy, and you did not raise me. And I was raised to have respect for people, but I don't care. And I've come to realize out here, I'm getting to a point where I don't care. And y'all know somebody that wants to buy a house, hey, they can assume my 4.22 interest rate, and I'll move. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any difference to me, but I will do that. Also, you need to teach no disrespect to the police officers. I love police officers to death. My brother-in-law was a highway patrol for 30 years. Love him to death. However, if you're going to tell me, since when do a police officer, I was told they don't take sides. There was one that took a side. I've never met him, but for the most part, they treat you with respect. I love them all. They're all nice, for the most part. So that's really all I came to complain about, is fix the city ordinance. If they're not going to be enforced, why are they called a city ordinance? We have a leash law. It's $1,000 fine.
Okay, we're on our 3 minutes, please. Bring it.
Well, I'm going to keep on talking, because enforce the city ordinances or take it off the books. End of story. And that's all I'm going to say. I do care.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comment. Denise?
Denise Seibert, 114 Great West Loop. Congrats on the sidewalk pathways. That is such good news. I'm really excited about that. I'm just hoping we hurry up about that traffic circle so we don't have to repay for sidewalks again. So let's get that either on the move or do a four-way or something, because it is becoming a problem at that Four Corners there, Morgan's Point and 2483. So, but congrats on the sidewalks. Yay, no money out of our bank.
Thank you, appreciate that indeed. Larry?
Do I have to say my name and address? Larry Hartman, 112 Great West Loop. I just want to kill time because it's not going to take very long. Question, the fence at the water, we had razor wire on there. Is razor wire going to be put back, or is it still Homeland Security required, or does anybody know?
That's on the agenda.
Okay, well, if you'd address that, I mean, I was just wondering because I know the fence was replaced, but I didn't know if the razor wire was going to go back on since we paid.
I don't think we are, didn't we?
Can he comment, Neil, if it's on the agenda? Yeah. The rule is 6 foot with barbed wire. The razor wire was additional, or 8 foot. We was going with 8 foot at the time we changed the fence. Very conservative, it's like 3.
So we don't, so the razor wire is not required any longer. Okay, that was my concern, is if we had to do that again. I didn't want to throw that away and then buy a new razor wire. Yeah. The other thing is, I want to thank the 5 council members that are here tonight. Y'all are doing a great job. You're not moving too fast. And the hiring process for a city manager, you're going to be amazed. As soon as you say we're looking for somebody, you're going to have at least 80 applications. So, you know, the only thing, Jimbo asked, you weren't sure about hiring. My only recommendation is when you're hiring somebody, make sure they're like your son-in-law that you want to marry your daughter. You want somebody like that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, ma'am?
You want to?
That's awesome.
Yes.
Jim Ann Durkee, 54 South Cliffwood Circle. I just wanted to comment on the art show. We had a wonderful attendance. We had a wonderful art show. And I want to thank the council members who attended. Those of you who didn't, you missed a good time. And I wanted to publicly thank all of the volunteers, the people who made donations, the people who donated food. I'm not included in that. And personally, I want to thank Pam Robinson. Without her tirelessness and her up here almost 24 hours a day for 3 days, we could not have had the great show we did have. Also, thank you artists for participating. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim Ann. Okay, moving right along, next thing on there is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
The only change on the
Make
minute,
we need to accept it as a motion. Do I hear a motion to accept it?
no, because I have a change.
Will they have the discussion after the motion is made?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said make a motion to accept.
Well, to accept the agenda, not to approve the agenda. I'm sorry, maybe I should have worded that.
To discuss it, yes.
Yeah,
I
I'll
make a
take it back.
motion that we discuss the items on the consent agenda.
There you go. And a second?
Second.
And a second. Okay, now we can discuss.
Minor. Thank you, Camille, she's not here. But we had our minutes by Friday after our Tuesday meeting so that we could review them, which is awesome, fantastic. The only change is that at the top of the heading, it's the same heading for both the agenda and the minutes. So the agenda needs to say agenda and the minutes need to say minutes, just to keep it separate because they look exactly the same. So, but Ryan's where.
We'll get that addressed, right?
Yeah, so with that minor change, I would like to make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay.
There's two sets, if we can do them together,
Subject to those two the additions, right?
to just add the word minutes.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the October 10th regular session minutes as presented to us, and the approval of the October 17th special session minutes.
Any further discussion on that? Anybody? Motion's been made and a second.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All done. You, far right, oh, far, okay. Okay, going into committee reports.
So you'll see in your packet, we have the committee reports all listed. If there is anybody from a committee that has anything that you'd like to note especially, please feel free to come up. I know we made this little change just so we could kind of keep the meeting efficient and effective. But if there are things that you'd like to address, please feel free to do so at this time.
Pam Robinson, Mary Ruth Briggs Library. Just want to remind everybody that on Thursday, November 30th, we will have Elder Explorers. We will learn how to play chicken foot, and we will be collecting for the cops' wish list items for the Silver Santa stockings. Hope to see you there.
Thank you, Pam. And thanks for all the work you did this last weekend. We appreciate that. Vicki, are you available?
Becky Cooley with the Planning and Zoning Commission. We met on October 24th, and during that meeting, we discussed several items, and several things were made for consideration for Morgan's Point Resort City Council. We discussed and considered the property abatement fee schedule brought to us by code enforcement, and we are sending that back to staff to work with the police department. We also discussed and considered the noise ordinance brought to us by City Council that is also being sent back to staff and the police department. And we discussed and considered the name change for their Camp Kachina Road. We recommend that name change to be Morgan's Point Road to align with the rest of the city, and that should be on your council packet tonight. Our next meeting will be December 5th, which is a different day, just to avoid Thanksgiving and avoid Christmas since we fall in those weeks, and we'll just meet right in the middle and then pick it back up on normal on January.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, going right along then to anything on the department reports?
This is just another item where we've tried to make the meeting more efficient. So if there are any department heads that would wish to speak to certain items in their report or high-level events, or if the council have any questions for any department heads, they're here at this time and available.
No, I don't have a question. I just want to say congratulations on your phenomenal response time. You made a record of 4 minutes within the city limits. Within the city limits.
Morgan's Point, yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yes, that's awesome.
That wasn't me, that was all the people.
I understand completely.
But-
This is a department.
Yeah,
So I'm
yes.
speaking for the whole.
Yes.
Yes, fire department. And then I just wanted to, the notable call that you had in your report on the fire at 2483 and 317. I'm just going to say this: extraordinary teamwork, leadership under constantly changing conditions, not to mention dangerous and extremely unpredictable. I love the creative use of your equipment and resources, because it looks like you use some things for something that, you know, was extraordinary in that situation. And then managing resources from multiple jurisdictions. So reading your report, I mean, it was like, wow.
Yeah,
So
and
congratulations.
I appreciate
to the department.
I appreciate that. And just really to highlight that, what we're talking about is a wildfire call where we use deck guns and some water resources we usually use on like big structure fires, and it worked. We had good water. But while I'm up here and have the podium for a sec, we are still in wildfire season, even with the rain. And the message on that one, we had trees flaring, and Jimbo, you were there. We had trees that went off like Roman candles, and this was like 3 or 4 days after rain. So we are still very dry conditions. Little silver lining, we actually got our FireWise designation. That'll be in next month's report. That just came through my desk yesterday. So we are a FireWise city again, and we will be taking a closer look at Smith Park and Canyon now as well. And we had another wildfire grant come in, that actually the one that you kind kind of point us towards. That's covering some equipment costs. We'll probably get about 12 or 13,000 on that. But yeah, thanks. The other thing I should mention, and nothing against Troop 118, but the Ladies Auxiliary is having a bake sale here on the 18th from 9 a.m. to noon. Tell me if I'm wrong. And yeah, come by and get your Thanksgiving treats. I got to get a plug in for them. But yeah, thanks. Any other questions? Or I know I tend to just talk if you let me, so I'll just not do that.
Thank you, Karen. Anyone else? Okay, moving right along then to the regular agenda.
Oh, was Jesse gonna give a quick update on the water? On the,
There you go.
I know we had a planned, water leak repair. And if you could give, all of us just a quick highlight as to what happened and how it happened. And I know we sent this away and then they came back, not acceptable. We had to boil water for a longer period of time than what we thought. And you could just, that's
Initially,
my language, your language.
resident initially reported the leak and right away turned into Murphy's Law. Is it on?
Does it have a green button?
Is the green light on?
Green.
Speak into it, Jeff.
But initially, the guys dug it up, made a game plan for what we needed, and a couple of larger leaks took priority. Then we had an equipment failure, so we were slow getting to it. Once we did get to it, they fixed it, made the improvements too, but didn't realize that main ended. We thought it ran all the way up the street. A second time we sampled and still didn't get it. They come out last Saturday and dug it up and found the end of it with a flush valve and cleared it all up. Calling it a Murphy's Law job. They happen to us sometimes.
Well, at least we had the dream team on it, right?
Yes, ma'am. They worked very hard. This one took longer than usual. We do apologize. A lot of residents.
Thank you for your diligence on it, and your crew. Thank you all for the work you did and the hours you put in. Don't know how much you miss your water till you don't have it.
Right.
Okay, back on the regular agenda, I need a motion, please, to discuss and consider a contract extension with CTCOG. Do I hear a motion to accept that?
A motion for discussion?
Okay, and a second?
And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to butt in, but if you just make a motion, you can make a motion to accept, then we can have discussion, you can revise
Okay.
the motion, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the contract extension with COG for interim city manager services through January 15th, 2024, with the caveat that we might need a second extension.
Yeah, I need a second on that.
I second that.
Now we have a discussion too. Do you want to discuss it further? Does everybody understand the motion? That we may need to do, what, January, what is it?
So this extension would take the city through January 15th.
15th.
There's also a memo that follows this cover sheet that was developed in the packet. And basically, this is an extension for the ILA for 30 days. During that extension, Mr. Reed has requested that council take action to either enter into an agreement with a full-time interim, appoint an internal employee, or enter into an agreement with CTCOG or another firm to begin the city management recruitment process. If CTCOG were selected to help in that recruitment process, he's more than happy to do another extension. But what we don't want to do is for for us to just drop the ball and everybody stand still, being comfortable with how things are going right now. So, like I said, that the funds required for that are what we put on there is $5,000 for that 1 month extension. And I'm here for any questions you may have.
We had discussed this thoroughly at our workshop before this, prior to our meeting here, so it's not new here. It is maybe to some of you folks. So if you have any questions, council, do y'all have anything else to discuss? Otherwise, there's been a motion and a second. Do y'all want to vote on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next one is I need a motion to discuss and consider city manager vacancy. And Dorothy, when we get into that, I need you to reword that process. Do I hear a motion to accept?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, now we're discussed, okay? And I know we had talked about this, and Dorothy, I think you had a pretty good explanation on it, but I couldn't remember all of the words, so
Okay.
you want to reword it?
Had a
or
lot of words.
Revisit?
We did have a lot of words. So, COG was, when we first entered into the agreement with them as an interim city manager, they gave us all this guideline for recruiting a city manager. I've read it a few times, and it's outstanding. So these aren't my thoughts necessarily. These are a culmination of thoughts from guidelines and just researching online. But, so we have, 4 choices to move forward, and we want to move forward the process on the city manager job continuously. We're not putting it on hold. We are moving forward. So today we're discussing the option of either taking the job search on ourselves as a council, hiring from within, going to an external firm, search firm. I guess those are basically the 3. And COG would be a consideration in the 3rd choice of having the COG do our search for us, which is what they did for us last time. We've got some things that as a council, we need to get our ducks in a row before we go external. So we come across to all candidates and to the external world that we know what we're doing and this is what we want, and get help finding those candidates. So we talked about, we have a workshop scheduled for December 15th that is going to set the 23-24 priorities and goals, which really should have been done in the April-May timeframe, but because of a lot of things going on, it didn't happen. We've got a great start, and we've scheduled this half-day meeting with an external facilitator to just put that to bed, get it communicated to all the employees and the residents as to these are the priorities of the city right now. And then we talked about a workshop on coming up with a job description. The COG came up with a job description in 2020 when we hired our last city manager. So we're going to take that as a starting point, brainstorm a little bit on what we need to shore up on that job description so that we make sure we have checks and balances in place, and guardrails, and as Jimbo puts it, the left boundary and the right boundaries, so that the council is leading the city with the priorities and goals, and the city manager is executing priorities and goals of the city. And then at that point, we are going to, honestly, while we're doing the job description, all city council is going to do a little bit of research on external firms. And I did, a couple hours of external governmental recruiting firms that specialize in city management. And I looked at who hired Kerrvilles, who's involved in Salados, city manager, assistant city manager was just hired in Colleen, and they had 85 applicants. So if we look at those firms that have recently been involved in recruiting a city manager, 84 of those candidates for Colleen didn't make it. So these companies have pools of candidates, and they're fresh candidates that really are willing to make a move. So all council is going to research some external firms. We're going to come back together as a council, discuss our research. Maybe we kicked around, I don't know if we finalized it, but kicked around coming up with a subcommittee that then can go narrow those firms down to 2 or 3, and maybe with the COG, bring in a couple other external recruiting firms to present something to council. So this puts us in the January, February, and we haven't come up with the time frame yet, but roughly in the January, February time frame to pull the trigger on the search. Is that
Good motion.
kind of, oh, geez.
Can I
So I make a motion, well, here's what's on the table. That we just consider the vacancy and search.
There you go.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we ask CTCOG to come and give us a presentation of what they would do, and that city council will individually look up other firms in the next month.
You want to put that in conjunction with Dorothy's motion? All at one?
Well, I don't know if mine was a motion, mine was more background. I mean, I guess the motion is that we ask COG to come to the next meeting with a proposal for us.
Yes.
And then if we give them a short list of names, that they give us their recommendation on the names of other external firms. Is that what we're asking COG to do?
No, I don't think we're asking COG to give us the names of external firms.
We're gonna, oh, okay.
But
yeah,
we are going to bring that to the next council meeting, and then we may decide on a group of two of us or whatever to further explore it kind of, in the discussion that we had earlier, it was kind of in the idea that, we were recommending 2 or 3 bids on everything, and so we really have liked the COG. But rather than just say, we're going to go with that, let's see, we'll check a couple other places out. And so if each of us as city council will look into that this month on your own in research, bring it back to the workshop next month. And then we'll ask Jim Reed or Urian to do a presentation of what the COG would do for us if they were hired to be the interim. I mean, the search.
We want to have 2 motions, so make a
Well,
motion.
without all the
Yes,
attendant,
right.
can we just, what is the motion? So we could have the COG come in and make a presentation. We can leave it at that, and we can adjust it from there as we need to go. And
Yeah, I
fair
think that's
enough?
a good idea. Let's make you can make it.
Okay,
Have COG.
I make that motion, that we ask the COG to
Okay.
present
Second?
what they would do as a search for us.
And a second?
I'll make a second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, then, that's what we're gonna go with right there then. On the
But
next one, we're going
We're
with.
supposed to talk process too, so I guess, is there another motion that each council person is going to do some research on external firms and bring that back to the next council meeting? Or do we just agree informally to do that?
I think we can really informally do that. I don't think we need a motion on that.
We can agree informally? Okay. I would say let's all just kind of start looking.
It is-
But our
it is voluntary, too,
decision,
because you don't have to do it, so it is voluntary on that second part too.
but our decision is to go external for an external search of city manager candidates. Does that need to be in a motion? Because there's a bunch of options for filling, again, in the concept of process.
I don't think we can just look first.
Just research.
Yeah, we'll just research first. And the other thing I think we talked about is that we are not going to call anybody or do, make any contact or begin that. We're just going to look at what's been done in the area around us and what our process would be. So, and we can bring that back to the workshop next month and with our recommendations of what we found.
Okay. Well, that's been a motion made and approved unanimously. So we'll go on to the next one. And that one, that's the one discuss and consider implementing staggered terms, but I think that has been tabled. Is that correct?
We couldn't make
You don't want to vote on it
decisions.
again, so.
We need to formalize it. So, do I want to open it for discussion?
I mean, it's already been voted on and passed at one point in time. Do y'all want to bring it back up?
It's on the agenda.
Update purpose.
Yep,
So if they make a motion, just so I can provide my update.
yep. I make a motion that we let Urian speak to what he's done about this.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second that.
So just very, very briefly, I know that staggered terms are of interest, of course, to the council and the community as a whole. What I want to relay to everybody is we're not trying to pump the brakes on this. We're not trying to do anything, behind the scenes to skirt this effort. But what we are trying to do is to make sure that when we do something like this, we do it correctly. So we, Councilmember Stryker spoke with Brad Buckley's office. He sent some correspondence that's been shared with council. I shared that with our city attorney, Neil. He responded with some correspondence from him as well as the view from TML Staff Legal, I believe it is, Neil, on their take on it. And that was, no matter when you decide to do it, it's going to create an off-year election. I sent that information back to Buckley's office just for additional clarification because I really want to get to what the intent of the legislation was so that we can continue having conversations to see, if there may need to be another change in the legislature for this to happen, or if maybe one side is just not understanding the other, but we don't want to go with what Buckley's office says and skirt what our city attorney says. We all need to be on the same page as we go through this process together. Now, in the council packet, all of you have seen, and I've addressed a couple of questions. It says staff feel that this is not feasible with the current transition in city management. I want to let everybody know that when I reference staff in this specific thing, this is regarding me. I'm the staff that I'm regarding to. I do not feel, and ultimately it's the council's decision, I don't feel that this is the time to do a special election or something like this. And I say that not only because we don't have all of the information that we need to make a good decision and move forward with this, but, 8 hours a week, there are many other things that need to be done at the city. And I don't know that having a special election would allow me, that would definitely exceed my capacity is basically what it boils down to. So I don't think that it would be a benefit to the council to move forward with something like this at this time. But I did want to bring this forward so that everybody's aware that we are still having the conversations, and we are aware that it's something that's of interest to the community and the council as a whole.
Ryan, how do we want to phrase this as far as?
Can I say something? Yeah, I brought this forward again because I was under the impression that we could vote for staggered terms now and then implement them in May of '25. And when I found out that wasn't really feasible, I still don't think that this is a good time. So I would like to make a motion that we table this staggered terms until a later date.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That'll be tabled, okay. Stephen, I think the next one's yours, discussion to consider. I need a motion to assembling Parks and Recs Committee, and I think that's your baby, is it not?
We're working towards it. So motion to discuss and consider Parks and Recs. Second.
Second, okay. Discussion, let it rip.
Well, I think our applications closed on October 15th, so that's exciting. I think overall we had 13 applicants, so we're going to compile that data. And Ryan and I have already talked about this. Get it out to council, let you guys sort of mull over it, see what you guys think, and then have a decision made for our December council meeting.
Sounds good. Any questions on that?
Yeah, so so Stephen, you're saying in December, be prepared to select
Yeah, so we'll be ready to select.
Roger.
Yeah, I will send out the information tomorrow that's been compiled for all of the applicants.
Super.
Well, I make a motion that we table or postpone the assembling of the Parks and Rec Committee until we get the applications and review them, and we will revisit this at our December 12th meeting,
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I assume there was no more discussion, so I bypassed it, so all in favor? We're good. Motion passes. Okay, next one is discuss and consider setting a date for our workshop, joint workshop, and this is going to be with planning and zonings in the city council. I think, is that the 18th? Is that?
So the 18th is actually the city priority workshop.
Oh, okay.
This is actually something to bring the council and the Planning and Zoning Commission together so that they can each understand each other's priorities. At the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, there were things on there that just genuinely Planning and Zoning Commission probably shouldn't be doing. It's not in their purview. So I think it's good to get everybody on the same page, for the council to understand what the role of the Planning and Zoning Commission is, as well as for Planning and Zoning to understand where the council is coming from. So I had a couple of dates proposed, possibly following the December 5th Planning and Zoning meeting. That would make the workshop probably run a little late. There's also an option to do the workshop the latter half of the day on the 18th, following our a strategic planning workshop, or ultimately, you know, and not to just continually kick this down the road, but ultimately wait until we have that strategic document finalized, and then maybe the first workshop in January prior to city council, we have that joint meeting with P and Z as a workshop from 5 to 6.
I think we probably need to be longer than 5 to 6.
And we can explore however long we need, council thinks we may need. Those are just times I'm throwing out as.
Can we ask the planning and zoning if they have any preferences?
Yeah.
I mean, can I legally do that? 'Cause you're here?
Becky, when's your
What,
January meeting? Because we could. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right, yeah. Right. Okay. P and Z meeting? Okay. Okay. Okay, thanks.
After council meetings, sometimes we don't know how long they run, so I would hate to keep you guys that long. I've been, yes, they are. I would prefer that. You know, that we do it either after a P and Z meeting or have a special workshop.
Now, I think the question would be, would we prefer to wait until that strategic planning document
Yes.
is finalized? So that would be following the January.
January 23rd.
23rd.
So January the 23rd, following the P and Z meeting. Everybody's on board with that?
Is that, Becky, I mean, I know you've got stuff on your agenda for this month, you know, quite a few variances. And so hopefully we're not holding you guys up with any priorities you wanted to clear. But
Okay. Okay.
okay.
So I move we set the date for January 23rd after P and Z.
And Ryan, is there anything you can give the council and/or P and Z on the role of the P and Z?
Yeah.
I've looked at the ordinance and I don't have enough basic knowledge to interpret it. I hate to say it that way, but.
I can send, and basically, you know, the ordinance is the guide for P and Z, but I can also gather some other information from the, you know, organizations like the American Planning Association, and get some items that way as well that I can share with both P and Z and the council.
Okay, that would help.
Basically, right now, we're having a motion to, have a setting the date with a joint workshop of P and Z and City Council in January? January 3rd, is that, do I hear a motion to accept that?
A motion to accept.
In a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, then, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're looking at 23rd. And we'll have another meeting between now and then, so we may bring it back up again if something changes, if we don't get all our information together. Okay, next one, discuss and consider changing the name of Camp Kachina Road to Morgan's Point.
All right, here we go.
There,
You want to open a motion
for
to
the reason of
discuss?
that, Ryan.
So the Girl Scouts actually reached out to CTCOG a few months ago to request a road name change due to some current concerns with the usage and affiliation of the name with the Kachina tribe. CTCOG will actually be changing the road name that's in the county area. So after you get out of the city limits, from the city limits to Camp Kachina, that road name will change in the near future to Camp Road. This was brought before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and their recommendation was that the city change the road name to Morgan's Point Road through the duration of the city. So there wouldn't be a break, and it wouldn't be Morgan's Point Road, Camp Kachina Road, or whatever else the city wanted to possibly call it, and then Camp Road. So it would maintain that consistency through the city. In speaking with the CTCOG staff, there are a total of 8 addresses that will be impacted. 7 of those are homes that have not been built at this time, and that information, the Cliffs, they have been in direct communication with CTCOG staff, so they're aware this is happening.
Homeowners Association.
Yeah, everybody at the Cliffs is aware. There's only one person that is not aware, and unfortunately, they are not in the city limits. They are a little house that sits in the ETJ, but their road is addressed right off of current Camp Kachina Road. So they would be impacted. CTCOG will make all of those notifications because they're not in the city limits, and CTCOG will handle any of that. As far as any legal costs or implications to the city, there are no legal concerns. This is what CTCOG staff do. Chapter 772 of Health and Safety Code require them to do 911 addresses. For the city, the cost would basically be, changing the road name, so the sign, and then unfortunately for the homeowner, they'll have to change all of their documents, their driver's license, but those are the costs that are associated with it.
Do I hear a motion to accept the changing of the name to Camp Kachina Road to Morgan's Point Road?
A motion to accept changing the name to Morgan's Point Road.
In a second? Second. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is change order request for the water storage tank and the pump station, which we discussed at the workshop. There may still be some discussion on that. Do I hear a motion to accept and consider that?
I move to accept and consider discussing and considering change orders associated with the water storage tank project.
In a second?
I'll second.
In a second. Okay, discussion? Questions? I think we covered this pretty thoroughly early, so I think everybody.
Yeah, I think one point to make and to put on the record is that this project was estimated without any contingencies.
There you go.
Normally, this is probably, it was approved as a 3.6. It's probably coming in at $4 million because of generators and a lot of things that have gone on. But we should have had some type of contingency in a project like that, and we agreed that in the future, we would make sure, depending on the project, that we would give the project team flexibility by giving them a contingency. But this case, we didn't have it, so each of the changes need to come to council. And we talked about how the TECQ did sign off on our plans ahead of time, and some of these compliance, there's a couple compliance and then maybe one change. Just typically can come up in the normal course of a $4 million project. This is $60,000, and so that's what we learned about this project. So I would make a
It
motion.
was not a matter of misbidding, it was just a matter of not bidding it. Get with the contingency, like Dorothy says, so.
Right, and then we know that projects of this size and this complexity are going to have changes,
Right.
especially when it's over a 2-year period. So I make a motion that we accept the change orders for the water storage tank pump station project.
I think there's already been a second. Did you second it, Roxanne?
I didn't, I made a motion to discuss.
If not, I shall.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is, we have been requested to nominate a individual to a position with the Small and Rural Technology or Technical Advisory Committee representative out of Killeen. That's, I call it the Killeen Temple Metropolitan Planning Organization or whatever. We submit a person's name that's willing to represent Morgan's Point, and it has to be, they still have to accept it. Is that correct, Ryan?
So yes, sir. At the At the last K-Tempo meeting, the K-Tempo Policy Board met and made revisions to the bylaws to include a representative from cities in the KTMPO boundary area with a population of less than 10,000. Of all these cities, I believe there are 7. Policy Board will select one individual from all of the letters they receive, and that is expected to happen at tomorrow's meeting. After speaking with the mayor and with Councilmember Snyder, we have submitted a letter recommending Councilmember Snyder to be considered for this role. The action before you is basically to ratify the letter that was sent nominating Councilmember Snyder.
Is there a length of time for this nomination?
So this is the first time that they've done this, and this seat will run until the, what month is this? November. Oh, so we will send out for consideration again in next September, August or September, for consideration. These will be basically one-year terms with indefinite carryover should the policy board decide to name the same person.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we ratify Jimbo Schneider's application to K-Tempo for be a small city representative of, what is this? A small rural technical advisory committee representative.
A second?
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Congratulations, Jimbo. Okay, going on with, now we're going to updates. Ryan, this is your ballgame. You want to give us some updates?
Bring more water next time.
I'm in the refrigerator.
I got some.
Oh.
So this memo will actually be sent out with the minutes that I'm reading from. Basically, this is my monthly update. You know, staff continue to work well. They're getting their tasks accomplished. There are no concerns with staff that I'm aware of. I have received an update on the audits. That'll be the next item. The lease with the Corps of Engineer was signed and returned. They notified me yesterday that they were making another revision, but we didn't need to take any action, and that revision was to remove part of Condition 32C stating that the city will provide the Corps with a slip at no cost. The contract officers believe that the lake is going to go ahead and pay the slip rental fee as they have been in the future because their legal officers looked at it and said they couldn't request a free slip at our marina. So they're going to continue to go on and pay for that. If anything changes, I'll let everybody know. We had one inspection from the Corps today at one of the parks, and we have one tomorrow at one of the parks, and as well as the marina. The cave opening that was discovered prior to last month over at the cliffs of Lake Belton Phase 2, their stop work is still in place over there. The developer is currently in the process of executing a contract with getting some of the work they need to be done with a geophysicist and microsurvey scan. Very, very technical things, I assure you. Additionally, they are bringing in a biologist to ensure that there are no endangered species in the cave. They have concurred with our assessment and are not going to work in that area until it's deemed safe. There's an in-ground survey of the area around the feature that's scheduled to begin Monday and wrap up Tuesday next week, and then we will receive hopefully some additional information on that following the Thanksgiving holiday. I know we spoke briefly last month about an evacuation plan. I did send a request to both the fire and police chief. They've both responded. I actually met with fire chief today on some potential next steps, so we aren't just kicking this down the road. There are some other planning activities that go along with this, and we're trying to determine how best to move this forward. So you may not see it again until the January council meeting. where we recommend possibly some classes that have some tabletop exercises for the council to be involved as we develop this evacuation plan for the city. Moving forward, the last thing I want to touch on, this is a high-level reminder to council that city policies prohibit the communications of council with staff for work purposes. The actual specific policy is included in this memo for your reference, but if you have any specific needs from staff, please go through me to coordinate those requests. Not only does that streamline the process, but it ensures that I'm engaged and I'm aware of what the staff are being asked to do, so that at some point the council doesn't come back and say, well, I asked them to do this 3 weeks ago. Well, I had no idea. So please, 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 if you have something for the staff, send that through me and I will coordinate, and if appropriate, we can all be part of one message system. I don't want to be kind of left out when things need to be taken care of, and I want the staff to understand that, you know, while they ultimately work for you as the policy direction, the policy sets forth that they work for the city manager's office. So everybody, like I said, this is just a very high-level reminder.
I'll just comment that even though you're only here 8 hours, you are accessible, not going to say almost any time, but you are accessible by email for sure, and by phone. So
I will vouch for that.
Will too.
He's here more than 8 hours. So.
I understand. Just for the record.
Is that your end?
That was the project update, basically. I will now go into the audit update. All right, and
We haven't seen this yet. This is our
no, you haven't, and I'm really just going to read directly from this page. As I understand, the FY 21, 22, and 23 audits are a priority to the council and the citizens of Morgan's Point Resort. I'm providing this issue paper on the audits as a reference to the events that led to the delays in the auditing reports being issued. This paper will demonstrate what actions have occurred up to today's date, as well as an updated audit report issuance timeline. On January 10th, 2023, an engagement letter was executed between the city and Brooks Watson to perform the audits and provide the audit reports for fiscal years 21 and 22 prior to September 30th, 2023. Since that time, there have been additional changes in the process that was being used, and additional documentation has been required to get an accurate depiction of a starting balance for these audits. At the February 14th, 2023 council meeting, a budget amendment was approved for the city to transition from Encode to Fund View for auditing purposes. Following this amendment, it took until April 15th, 2023 for the Fund View software to be live and the conversion to be realized. Following this conversion, an engagement letter was executed with Peacock Consulting to complete the bank record and transaction reconciliation of fiscal year 20 funds to use as a starting balance for the FY 21 and 22 audits. On August 11th, 2023, the required bank records were reconciled through September 30th, 2020. Following the receipt of reconciled records, Brooks Watson began the audit process of the beginning balances for FY 2020 and FY 2021. Since they started that process, there have been several, and I mean several, conversations between Carrie and Brooks Watson in regard to transactions and journal entry corrections for funds that were not entered and tracked in the Encode system appropriately, which has directly had a negative impact on the timing of audit completion and pushed the estimated timeframe for completion to December 2023. Carrie and I spoke with the audit firm in detail on November 13th, 2023, which was yesterday, to get an accurate estimate of the current timeline for delivery of the audit reports for fiscal years 21, 22, and 23. During the call, we were advised that due to the need to correct some of the entries that were made in the software incorrectly, the new timeline for an audit report for fiscal year 21 was going to be prior to the end of December. We also discussed the revised timeline for starting the FY22 audits, which the audit firm anticipated would begin sometime in April. The reason for this delay in the schedule is due to other municipalities already having contracts in place to perform their regularly scheduled audits between year's end and March. After some additional conversation, it was determined that the audit firm would try to roll directly from fiscal year 21 directly to fiscal year 22. But depending on schedules and availability of their staff, and due to other commitments, this may not be doable, and they may not be able to begin with certain aspects of the audit until sometime in February, with an audit report being issued sometime in the second quarter of calendar year 2024. Additionally, prior to the start of the FY23 audits, the council will need to take action to authorize the city to enter an agreement with FundView to convert all records for the FY23 audit from Encode to the FundView system. At this time, it is estimated that the FY23 audit report will be made in the third quarter of calendar year 2024. City staff and I are committed to ensuring these audit reports are delivered to the council as early as possible. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions or the need for any clarifications. Now, that being said, I just read it all, and I know this is not what has previously been discussed. I know there were engagement letters. I also know in speaking with Brooks Watson yesterday, I pleaded, I asked direct questions on how do we move this forward. What we don't want to do, and I'm going to say it again, I don't want to pressure them to give us an audit report that's just been rushed. We don't want to do that. They're not going to do it. Thank goodness they wouldn't. But we are making progress. Although it may sound slow and pushed, progress is being made. The biggest problem that we encountered was where we were lacking information and we had inaccurate information in our systems for a couple of the years. Carrie, correct me, what was it, 19 and 20 or 18 and 19?
19 and 20, but you can just keep going.
Yeah, and so we have been working on this, and we did ask directly if we could move up in the queue, and unfortunately, that's not something that we can do right now. They've spent a lot of time getting us to where we currently are, and working through the issues that we've had. So with that, I'll open it to questions or for Carrie to provide any additional information.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start. Obviously, there are a couple words in here that sometimes could be used interchangeably. So, but just that way it's not distortive or misinterpreted. Like if you go into the fourth paragraph, middle of the way down, he says entry correction for funds. Fund is a weird term in accounting because it's not, he means amounts, not necessarily like there is a missing, general fund or enterprise fund, just small little clarification. But really kind of over the last couple weeks, to his point, we've made a huge amount of progress. So for basically for the beginning balances for fiscal year 20, they are hoping to have the entries to me hopefully sometime by early next week. We will then turn around and make those entries into FundView. And so this is with the timeline that's in Urian's letter or memo. So really after we do that, they've already begun the 21 testing. But so really that way all the entries that basically corrects 19 and 20 will be in the software, and then they will continue this, go into basically the timeline that Urian's setting out. So really it's been a long process, but we're getting close for the first one. And that's not the all that we know. Then we have the next couple, but the first one is the biggest one from a staff perspective, that we now have all the hurdles behind us. It still means we still have to keep moving forward on the 22 and 23, but we're getting pretty close. So I know that's not exactly what y'all want to hear, and it got pushed back another couple weeks or whatever, but talking to them, I think the best thing for us to do, depending on whenever they issue it in December, whenever they write the report, obviously if it's in time for the December council meeting, we can put it on that time. However, I do think since we haven't had one in several years, I do think this would be a nice time to have a second council meeting in that month, whether it's before or slightly after. And then that way y'all can ask the manager or the partner, whoever comes down,
the questions directly for the 22 and 23, about the timing of the audits and the completion.
Looks like you and Ryan are doing everything that can be done.
Well, let me
at the
just
present
interject
time.
there. Yeah, I think pushing back on the audit firm was 100%, the right thing to do. And we're a brand new client. We switched from a local firm because the local firm had to not work with us during tax season. We were all told that this firm it's out of Houston, it's robust, and they'll be able to, give us priority as a client. And so that has fallen through because of their other commitments, even though we're also a client of theirs. But we're being put, we're a second-class citizen at this point. And I know part of it is just their scheduling. And I've also seen articles where it's really getting harder and harder to hire accountants. But then the other thing is, what can we do from a city standpoint and from a council standpoint to look at the priorities that we have on Cary and say, what else is going on that could possibly free him up to just devote 100% to the audits, to, so that they're not requesting stuff from us. We are providing things for them before they even think about that they need it, or other staff that could help with the audit.
So I would say at this point, there is nothing that Cary can do that's proactive. He can only be reactive because they are in the system, correct me if I'm wrong, and he is not going to know.
So every bank account is reconciled through 21. Okay, how about 22?
And I just need to check with Peacock because again, I want to keep focus on the first one, but yes, that's.
I understand, but I mean,
yes, if we can already have it, because then really the only.
And then all the
you
records,
this more, right?
yeah.
Obviously, they're not going to give me the tested transactions or the subsequent.
But we know they want all capital. We know what auditors want, and just make sure we are squeaky clean so there's no slowing down on our part. And if we need to change priorities or if council needs to do something differently.
I mean, really, like I said, I'm pretty sure in an ideal world, if staffing, not city staff, audit staff would work, that they even hinted that, it would make more sense for them to just roll into 22.
You would
It's just
think.
based on that we're not their only firm. So, and I know we hate hearing this, but I mean, that was the same way kind of going from the conversion and stuff like this. But I mean, the beauty of some of this stuff is just the incompetence of prior staff.
I understand.
So, but I mean, now not being able to allow a third party to reconcile all the bank accounts and not find anything missing, any missing money, any funds, because I know.
So that's going well now.
Yes.
They got all the weird bugs and they're into you and our previous city manager's time frame. So everything's clean and it should be a whole lot easier going forward.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for your diligence to carry.
I just have one quick
Ryan,
question,
thanks
sir.
for getting in with the accounting firm and trying to light a fire.
Mine's a quick one. So this conversion from FundView FundView to Encode.
Oh,
Is it?
go to FundView.
Okay, yeah, flip flop. That's what I thought I read the first time. So it just says we need to do that sometime. Is that something we can do like next council meeting to get out of the way so that doesn't?
It was my recommendation still. Depending on however we want to do the agenda, whenever they present the 21 audit, the next item to me was going to be, hey, let's do this. And so obviously we've talked about in the past about doing quarterly budget amendments anyway. Obviously kind of, Ryan's, extra month on here. So we have a city manager salary that we're not utilizing right now. So whether it was in December or January, I'm going to have, and I'll be proactive and ask them of what the actual cost for the conversion, because the bulk of it, FundView already knows what we've done since they've converted to it one time. So obviously that's not a go live with your utility billing software and the courts and stuff like that, but there will be an extra, probably I'm going to say $20,000 or $25,000 to go live. However, when we build out the annual budget, the cost of the software is cheaper than Encode, and it's more robust and it's more user friendly. So this is the right direction from staff to go forward with this software. But yeah, so whenever we actually have the audit presentation on the council agenda, the next item will be to go live.
And if there's anything else that comes up between now and then.
I have a list of about 5 or 6 little budget amendment things.
No, but I mean on
Yeah.
on what council can do to.
Anything else, Ryan?
I have a question, just a question. So we went to Brooks Watson, they're out of Houston, is that correct?
Correct. And
Would you ever,
so
would you consider like in the future, would we switch back to the, because they aren't, seem like they're
No,
not
right.
speeding it up any more than the
Well,
previous?
they really are, and it's kind of disingenuous sometimes to say that because in no throwing dirt at lot Vernon or stuff like this, but their sole audit clients are municipal firms.
Okay.
And so they are not switching. They're not switching from audit to tax season. It's just we are lumped in with their other clients. However, I do think best practices for cities our size and cities of all size is to switch audit firms, every 5 years.
Periodically?
And so we had never done that in the past. So I don't think even after this, after we get caught up and familiar with Brooks Watson, that we're going to stay with them indefinitely. It's best practice for CPA or for clients to switch audit firms.
Okay.
And there are regional firms here in Temple. Maybe they have their base in Dallas, but they have a complete office, close by that are local. And we can look into that, but we need to get through this
Through
whole.
these, right. I mean, because really,
Thank you.
The whole thing would be, I would even get through 24 and maybe even 25, and
Okay.
that would have roughly 5 years.
Okay.
And so, I mean, the next part, and then I'll get with Neil, just since we're talking all things audit, figure out what we need to do for 20 and 19, if we actually have to go back and look at those years, or, in theory, we could even do like a high-level analytical to make sure that nothing really was.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe a compilation.
Right.
For those 2 years, so no opinion.
As long as the state signs off on the fact that we.
Yeah, but I don't know the legal
And
ramifications.
really-
right now, we're illegal anyway. So.
Yeah, and I
Okay, we're need to be moving right along here. Let's go, folks.
Well, it's an important priority for the city. We can't get grants.
Well, I know, we've been talking
So I
about,
just wanted to go back to what Jimbo said, just to clarify. So if we do the switch from Encode to FundView, that's not going to slow down the audits in any way?
No. So, I mean, basically, and it's slightly in here, so basically, when they converted whenever they actually, it didn't go live until April 15th, however, they did pull the data, let's just say, as of the middle of February. So we have half of a year, a little over half of a year, a little less than half of a year's data already in there for 23. So really, obviously, in a conversion, they're going to have different points where they pull data. So the biggest thing that I'm going to get them to do is make sure they have all the way through the end of calendar year 23, because that's really about the audit window. You really shouldn't have anything past into January that was related back to the prior fiscal year. And so obviously that would be one point as they pull the data over. But yeah, then as they actually switch to going live with utility billing and some of the other stuff, that can be kind of pushed to the back burner. But getting the financial data into there will facilitate the audit completion for 23.
But there's always a risk to conversions.
Sure.
And especially because you're bringing payroll systems, utility billing systems, so, yeah.
But I mean, and that's.
But none anticipated at this time.
Well, and the one good thing about them is obviously if they've already pulled the data over once,
Right.
it's not going live. But since they are an offshoot of Encode itself, they understand the pain points.
I met with the guys. They seemed awesome.
okay, folks, we're gonna be moving right along here. And we're gonna go with, does anybody have anything for a future agenda that wants to be included in a future agenda? I know we've talked about a lot of things, but is there something you would like to see on there?
Well, we have the eclipse coming in April of 24. And whether we like it or not, people are going to come to our city. And so what do we need to do as a city to make sure that, I don't know if we provide, whatever those are called, eclipse glasses, or, I know hosting an event can get really complicated, but we are probably going to have to shore up fire and police. And so do we need a plan to handle the thousands and thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands of people that are going to come, whether we like it or not, to the eclipse?
And probably,
I'm just saying for future agenda. No, future agenda.
No, what I was going to say is I can reach out to Chief and see if he can get a presentation put together for the next council meeting.
Okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Other than that's a good idea right there. If not, anybody have comments? We'll start with Pat. Do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. As you heard, we're having a strategic workshop talking about what we think we want to do in the future. And I, for one, have We did one in the, after the election, so it was the June, July timeframe, and that kind of got put on the shelf for about 4,000 different reasons. But prior to the December meeting, I am going to work with the city manager and try to get us a open town hall meeting, and tentatively scheduled for November 28th, after Turkey Day. And have it here, hopefully here, and just have an open meeting where we can come in and talk about the priorities that the citizens want to have input in for that meeting. I don't feel comfortable as a council member that I know everybody's feelings about it. So I'm proposing to have an open meeting and tentatively scheduled for the 28th, 6 to 8-ish. And we'll keep you informed on that. There's some little hurdles we got to get through, but just let everybody know that that's what I'm proposing. It will probably have to be as a regular council meeting type notification, so that if there's 3 of us there, that it's a legal meeting and not. But we want to have, I want to have everybody come that is interested come in and let's talk about it and do it nice and orderly and leave the tomatoes and everything out in the outside. Okay. But I would like to get your input from the community on what you guys want to have happen in the future.
If you decide to do that, Pat, you need to contact Esther and have her put it on our website so more people are aware of it instead of just the ones that are sitting right
Ryan.
here.
Contact Esther.
I have coordinated a little bit of this with Councilmember Clune, and I've contacted Neil. We have some follow-up questions. But once a decision's been made, then yes, the information will be shared with the council, and our Esther will send something out, and we'll get everything posted like it needs to ensure that we get the widest dissemination to the community who are the desired people to attend the meeting.
Yes, exactly.
Stephen?
I think our city is doing great. I think our council's doing great, and I just am thankful for Ryan and how he's steering the ship right now. So I think that's all I got.
Ditto.
Second that.
Dorothy?
Nope, I'm good. Thanks.
Good. Jimbo?
Thanks for being here, Santa Claus. 1 December. Don't forget, Santa's coming to town.
Yeah, right.
Roxanne?
Hey, Mrs. Claus.
Anything else?
Whoa.
Elf.
In closing, thank everybody for being here. Thanks to our volunteers. We've had a lot of good things happen in the last month with the library, the cops, and everything else. So there's still a lot of stuff to come, bake sales and all kind of good stuff. So keep updated on the city website, and hope to see you all around between now and the end of the year. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All carried.